Okay guys, time to get down to the nitty gritty. It's time to talk about Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home. Now, out of all of the Star Trek films out there, this one is definitely my personal favorite. I know some of you might be saying that that this shouldn't be my personal favorite because everyone says Star Trek II is the best and that it should be my favorite. No, that's not true. Just because a certain movie out of a film franchise is considered to be the best does not mean it's going to be everyone's personal favorite. I mean, some people can like the first one, some people can like the second one, and so on and so on and so forth. Just because one movie is considered the best does not mean it could be the one film that everyone has to latch on to as being their favorite, okay? I just wanted to get that out of the way, okay? So, to reiterate, Star Trek IV The Voyage Home is my favorite film out of the entire film franchise, so there we go. Now, why is it my favorite film, you may ask? Because A, it has to deal with time travel, B, it was unfortunately the last Star Trek film that Leonard Nimoy directed, and C, the humor works. Unlike where in Star Trek V it fell flat on its face, the humor in this movie works perfectly. It's a very good fish out of water story for the Star Trek for the Star Trek characters, and overall it just works as a great film in general. Not just as a good Star Trek film, not just as a good time travel film, not just as a good fish out of water comedy film, but as a good film. So there we go. Now with that all said, let's talk about the plot of the movie. So the movie opens up with this probe headed toward Earth and apparently is trying to make contact with the extinct species humpback whale. And of course, since there aren't any humpback whales in the 23rd century, the Enterprise crew has to travel back in time in their bird of prey that they got, of course, in search for Spock, in order to go into the 20th century in order to find some and then take them to the 23rd century, so they could basically tell the probe to head home. So there we go. And of course, along the way, the characters get into their own little plots, and it's actually really nice. We see Kirk and Spock trying to find the humpback whales. Sulu, Dr. McCoy, and Scotty are trying to find a tank for the whales made out of transparent aluminum. And Chekhov and Uhura are going off to go find some nuclear powered ships, because unfortunately, because they're in time travel, the Klingon crystals got drained, so now they need to get a power source from, well, nuclear vessels, as Chekhov calls them. Sorry about that. So anywho, things start going okay, except Chekhov gets captured and unfortunately gets a concussion. So Kirk, Bones, and I guess Kirk's love interest of the movie, Dr. Jillian Taylor, played by Catherine Hicks, who you might remember from the first Child's Play movie and from Seventh Heaven, which is the same show that Stephen Collins, who played Decker in Star Trek The Motion Picture, wound up on, go and help Chekhov, and they get him out of there, But unfortunately, there's an even bigger problem. It turns out that the whales were going to be released, well, sometime later, but unfortunately they got moved out the night before, so now Kirk and company have to rescue the whales before they get killed by a whaling ship, which thankfully they do, and so then they head back in time to the exact moment when they left, and unfortunately the Klingon bird of prey gets disabled by the probe, and so then the bird of prey crashes in San Francisco Bay, and thankfully Kirk's able to get everyone out of there, and of course he also saves the whales. Yay. So then the whales and the probe talk and blah blah blah, the probe leaves and everything's so hunky-dory again. But unfortunately there's the bigger issue at hand, which is the fact that Kirk and company have to face charges for what they did in the previous film, You know, stealing, destroying the Enterprise, sabotaging the Excelsior, disobeying orders, blah, 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 blah. But because what happened in this movie, Kirk, well, he just gets demoted to captain and gets put in command of a new Enterprise, NCC-1701A. Of course, lead us into the next film, and oh god, I really do not want to look up the next film, seriously. But I'll eventually have to anyway. Return, you Shatner! Anyhow, we'll get into how much I hate that movie later. But anywho, well, now the review is done. Time to look at the factoids of the movie. Okay, here we go. Okay, well, here we go. Okay. The device Dr. McCoy uses to heal Chekhov's head injury is actually part of a model kit of an AMT movie version Klingon battlecruiser. The punk on the bus is played by associate producer Kirk R. Thatcher. He also wrote the song that's playing on the boombox during a scene. Nice. Some shots of the whales were in fact 4-foot-long animatronic models. 4 models were created and were so realistic that after the release of the film, U.S. fishing authorities publicly criticized the filmmakers for getting too close to whales in the wild. The scenes involving these whales were shot in a pool underneath the Paramount parking lot. The shot of the whales swimming past the Golden Gate Bridge were filmed on location and nearly ended in disaster when a cable got snagged on a nuclear submarine and the whales were towed out to sea. Whoopsies! The film was originally supposed to have Eddie Murphy instead of Catherine Hicks. Murphy was supposed to have played a professor concerned with UFOs who spots the decloaking Klingon ship at the Super Bowl. Apparently, all of us are convinced the ship is a halftime special effect, while Murphy believes it is real. Paramount declined the script for 2 reasons. Paramount didn't want to combine their 2 most profitable franchises, Star Trek and Beverly Hills Cop, and Murphy had signed on to do The Golden Child instead. Interesting, isn't it? And final film factoid of Star Trek IV is, according to George Takei, when McCoy, Scotty, and Sulu are standing in front of the building with the Yellow Pages advertisement, a door opens and an Asian woman appears. The scene in the movie ends at this point, but originally this woman was to begin shouting for a young boy named Hikaru who would run into Sulu. Sulu would realize that this boy was his etc. grandfather. The young boy hired for this scene began to cry on the set before the shot, and they were unable to get him to do the scene. With no one to replace him, the scene was never shot. Wow. You know, the funny thing is that even though that scene wasn't in the movie, it's actually in the novelization. It's actually part of the movie novelization, which is actually kind of interesting if you think about it. So anywho, that's basically my review of Star Trek IV. Tune in a little while later while I look at my least favorite Star Trek movie of all time, Star Trek V: The Final Frontier. Whoop-de-doo, I'm so looking forward to reviewing this one. Oh joy, I cannot wait. Live long and prosper. Peace out. Bye.